Everyone's jealous, and it feels like it has been forever since I've done a rundown. A lot has obviously gone on with patches and other stuff, and this isn't the video that I'm going to release. I'm probably going to release a video in the next few days that talks about where I've been for the past month and just other stuff, but I figured I would get up and I would do this patch rundown because I thought to myself, if I don't do this one, I'm probably just... It really feels like if I don't do this patch rundown, I am just going to indefinitely keep just saying I'll do the next one over and over and over. And so here we are for the 12:15 rundown. And I don't know what to think. I've recently started watching more of, random tournament games in various regions, and so I have a general idea of like what is going on, but obviously I've been detached in some ways. However, when I see the nerfs and the buffs, I do immediately think like something is going on here. Something is not quite right. One of the things I am happy to see is obviously Sivir. When she was originally reworked, I remember just thinking like, okay, I think that this is all just in a really, really, really good direction. I do think that over the last couple of patches, not too much has actually been changing. It's no surprise to see Gwen obviously back here again, but for the most part, stuff has sort of begun to get stale again, at least in major regions. There was that announcement that came out with like the LDL is doing the, I forget what they call it, the type of the draft, the thing that me and Kadril ended up doing on stream once upon a time. But let's get into it. So, nerfs, Akali, W energy restoration and maximum energy bonus increase. She does need it. Akali is not in the best of states right now. You're actually griefing in most instances where you would pick Akali, mostly because of how heavy of a champion she is in terms of how much gold allocation she needs, how long she needs to get online, the fact that she's just outright countered by so many different types of themes and team composition. She just doesn't have the same kind of power that she once did, and then with other recent changes that have happened lately, she's just in a weird spot. So this is definitely very good for Akali. Gwen, Q true damage conversion decrease. So no surprise here. Q snip snip true damage in center 75% to 50% of all damage dealt is converted to true damage. This is totally fine. Gwen, I mean, they said it right here. Gwen's changes in 12:13 achieved our goals of making it easier for players to lane with her and execute her combos, but they were a bit too effective at the highest levels of play. Wow, who could have guessed? And again, this was primarily just because of the way that Gwen wins her matchups anyway. It's not that effective to do the type of changes that they did if you're talking about like pro level play, because of the way that champions actually are allowed to itemize against Gwen. Now the 75% to 50% of the damage is dealt to true damage. I mean, this is sizable. I do think that this does bring her down a little bit of a peg, but Gwen, if she's a response or a reactive champion to a team composition, or if people just keep picking like these mid-rangey meat, just bump ugly type team compositions, then Gwen is still just going to be good the same way that Viego was really good for a really, really long time because of the way that people were drafting and stuff. And if the drafts across any region right now are indicative of if Gwen will remain good in certain situations, she's probably still going to be fine. Kalista, base attack damage decreased. This champion is atrocious on so many levels, has been for a really long time. It is a tragedy that people convince themselves that this champion is somehow good. Honestly, I mean, she's the Renekton of AD carry in a lot of ways. People have like these euphoric, just absolutely bizarre spectacle memories of her when she pops off and she lane bullies in lane, because literally her whole thing is predicated off of the idea that your opponents are worse than you and you just get really far ahead. Now, obviously, she does come with a little bit of utility inside of her kit that offers like some form of engage, but again, she's one-dimensional. She's very, very forced into that avenue because she doesn't have that old late game theme hyper scaling type thingy that she did once upon a time a long time ago. That was a very different version of Kalista. The dragons were very different back then. Her rend, her neutral, objective control and things of that nature were very different. The 3AD, honestly, I mean, it hurts her a little bit more than it hurts some other AD carries just because of the way that her kit works and the way that she has to do those early trades and everything like that. Losing damage early on does hurt her. But I mean, this is one of those buffs that I know that you would hear me talk about on a lot of other champions, and I would say that it's probably not a super big deal And I understand what this ends up doing is a lot of people, I remember reading Reddit threads, and I would read Twitter comments sometimes when like Lucian would, lose AD, or other various ADs would lose AD. And someone would say that it's just so much damage being added into the game. What's happening is that the endgame post graph screen, yes, you're actually losing lots of damage off that bar. But all that really matters in the analysis of it is, what does this damage reduction to her base attack damage convert to in a trade? What does it convert to in a lane phase? What does it convert to in a team fight? And when you start talking about those numbers, that is very negligible, all things considered. So yes, the post-game graph, when you click damage dealt to enemy champions, while that bar will be moved, because again, you're taking a compilation of dozens of fights that occurred throughout the game, then yes, then when you throw it together, it will look very large. But in an actual fight, it's going to be specks of dust. It's not going to be super converting. Now, Kalista, again, yes, early game, a little bit weaker, so in that regard, it's fine. Kennen, W cooldown decreased early, magic damage increased, R ability power scaling increased, W electrical surge. 14 to 6 seconds to 13 to 6 seconds. That's very nice. Magic damage is going to go from 60 to 100 to 70 to 170. R slicing maelstrom, magic damage per bolt. 40 to 110 plus 20% AP to 40 to 110 plus 22.5% AP. So Kennen's kind of weird. If you go the glass Kennen and you do get the dream setup, then yeah, Kennen is going to have an absolutely great time. If you do that with, like, Rabadon's Death Cap and you have Void Staff, you have everything else. The problem is that Kennen has utility variations of his build, where typically Kennen will do something like build Rocket Belt, and then after building Rocket Belt, what he'll do is he'll build Zhonya's Hourglass. And you're talking about a 2.5% AP increase. Now, I understand that it is per bolt and whatnot. Kennen is getting extra damage here, and W with the Electric Surge getting extra damage there as well is definitely really good for Kennen. Kennen does like and need these kind of things in order to get back basically into being into the meta. I don't think that these type of changes are going to make Kennen like flexible or anything. He's still going to be predominantly up there in top lane. I do hope that he doesn't just come back blanket or like blind as a lane bully or something of that nature. I think that wouldn't make any sense, nor do I think that these changes are enough to push him over the edge. But this will make him a lot better in the mid-game team fights, and then obviously late game depending on team comps. Lee Sin. QW and E reactivation energy cost decreased. Okay, as a system energy, it's intended to give some champions spikes of power that fall off with extended combat time. Given the current state of the game and more extended fights, champions that use energy as a resource have found it more difficult to find success because their energy depletes. Okay, note this. Okay. Q, Sonic Wave, Resonating Strike. Resonating Strike energy cost down by 5. W, Safeguard, Iron Will, 30 to 25. E, Tempest, Cripple is also down by 5. So Lee Sin's getting access to quicker lethal thresholds and activate in combos and things of that nature. I mean, Lee Sin is, again, another champion that really shouldn't be picked, but he often does get picked. And then it's very difficult to have a conversation with someone, honestly, about his kick or, other types of value that he has at different stages of the game, because realistically it just shouldn't be real, because again, much like Kalista, it's predicated off assuming that your opponent is incapacitated, and that is just a really weird thing. Now, obviously, you do get highlights, and you get those, absolutely PogChamp plays and all these other things, but then on the flip side, in more cases than not, that often actually doesn't end up being the case, or in the cases where teams are picking Lee Sin, it's often the better team is picking him, and the other team ends up winning because of things that don't contribute to Lee Sin. Now, these changes are good for him, but there's so many other better junglers right now, and it just should not matter about these changes. Leona. Q mana cost decreased at all ranks. R crowd control duration increased. This is really good for Leona, but the problem is that she lost a lot of her damage. And it feels like, what is the reason to pick Leona almost at this point over something like Sejuani's support, unironically? And it doesn't really make that much sense. I mean, the mana cost going down on Shield of Daybreak, Leona does not have mana problems in lane. This is a totally, they're just totally missing. What is this? Now, I will say that for, if you guys have watched the Korean Grandmaster player that plays Leona top lane or something, yeah, this is really good for Leona top lane. The mana cost on Q, yeah, she does spam that a lot in lane. She's actually getting enormous amounts of mana in laning phase in top lane. just getting 10 off the Q, I mean, it doesn't do anything for Leona support. Our Solar Flare, the stun and slow duration, 1.5 to 1.75 seconds. I mean, Leona stuns you for 3 weeks anyway, so getting an extra quarter second or something on her stun, it doesn't really do that much, especially with the way that tenacity works inside of the game and all this other great stuff. It doesn't really do a whole lot. These are both just very odd placebo well, I'd say I don't want to call them placebo because, I mean, if Riot continues to buffer in the future, then these things do eventually add up, but given the current state of Leona, it doesn't do anything. Lillia, passive damage cap against monsters increase. Passive, Dream-Laden Bow. So the monster cap damage 40 to 100 to 50 to 150. So getting the extra damage in the later stages will help her clear. And they're saying that Lillia has been a bit weak in the jungle at all skill brackets. Lillia is not a solo queue champion for a lot of reasons. The way that she needs to play inside of the jungle, the way that she coordinates ganks requires the Lillia player to be really good, as well as for the other player to understand what Lillia is trying to do. And then the setup with her E and her R and the sleeps and everything in the later stages of the game are also something that you're just not expecting that someone would have coordination for. Why would you end up playing Lillia and going through the hassle of doing all of that when you could alternatively just play Fiddlesticks, nuke people instead of having to set up with ENR, or alternatively just play Karthus, clear really, really, really fast, and then nuke people and get a lot of gold every single time that you do it? Just doesn't make that much sense. Now, in competitive, I will say that there can be sense for Lillia, and I don't deny that, but in solo queue, it doesn't make sense. Mastery E cooldown no longer decreases with rank, so it's going to be 18 seconds at all ranks. This is just another hit to Mastery E. I think that Riot has just like decided they really do not want him in competitive or anything. They keep just tuning him for lower MMR brackets, and that's just how it is. Qiyana, passive bonus attack damage scaling decrease, first strike bug removed. Qiyana is very interesting because of the way that she works and the way that she functions with all the changes that have actually happened, as well as the way that she's allowed to itemize. So, passive Royal Privilege is going to be 15 to 83, levels 1 to 18, plus 45% bonus AD. The AP doesn't really matter. Still going to be 15 to 83, and levels 1 to 18, plus 30% bonus AD. So she's losing 15% of her bonus AD. And then the bug fixes. Fix a bug where Qiyana could apply an extra proc of her passive with first strike equipped. So that's obviously a very big bug fix. Qiyana's still going to be fine inside of a solo queue environment. Competitive, it is going to be a little bit harder still to make her function just due to the nature of the competition and everything. But aside from that, I think that, you know, she's probably going to be fine. Rammus, R cooldown adjusted, base cast range increase, dash range growth increase, minimum and maximum dash speed decrease. So Rammus is actually really funny. With the 12.14 changes to tank items, Rammus hasn't been rolling around with the enthusiasm he once had. We're opting to return some power to his kit with a few quality of life adjustments to his ultimate, which Rammus would respond to by saying, okay, that is actually true. Riot did make a correct statement. R, Soaring Slam. So cooldown is going to go down to 90 seconds at all ranks. I mean, having the R up does not actually decide most of Rammus's ganks. So getting 20 seconds shaved off it, and then at rank 2, I mean, it's a joke. It's 5 seconds shaved off it, so it isn't really doing anything. And then it's actually a nerf for late game. I mean, it seems like Riot actually is even aware that this is not a thing that does anything for Rammus. I mean, again, having it up 20 seconds sooner, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't create a gank or anything. The base cast range, however, being up by 200, that's really big. And then the dash range growth 1.3 to 1.5, that's really big as well. Minimum dash speed 700 to 900. Maximum dash speed is also going to go up. So this is totally fine for Rammus. I think that Rammus is a champion that really flourishes when the enemy just picks bad comps into Rammus, but people don't want to play Rammus because he's a little bit slower and things of that nature. But Rammus does have some really broken builds that he can end up going. He's a great utilizer of like Demonic Embrace, really great utilizer of Thornmail and everything, really great utilizer of just a lot of like the very wonky items. And I think that he has very interesting builds and things of that nature. So it'll be interesting if Riot will continue to revisit Rammus. I don't anticipate that they will, but I mean, I think that he has or was viable actually for a while, at least in competitive. Shen, E passive energy refund increased later. E shadow dash. Energy refunded upon dealing damage passive or E is going to go up in the later stages. Again, this isn't what's stopping Shen from being able to come back. Shen doesn't really have energy problems. It feels like if you have energy problems on Shen, then you're doing something wrong in most cases. His energy problems are if you miss. I mean, that's really what it is. So this is basically like a forgiveness button to some of the players that are just playing really poorly on him, but realistically he doesn't have energy problems, and it doesn't make any sense. Singed. Passive bonus movement speed increased per target cooldown decreased. Our bonus stats increased early. Passive, Noxious Slipstream. Bonus movement speed is going to go up by 5%. And then per target cooldown, 10 seconds to 8 seconds. Our Insanity Potion bonus stats are also going up. He's getting 10 at rank 1, which is absolutely bonkers. So this is actually really funny for like Gen G, who are doing the best right now, I believe, in LCK. And I mean, they have been looking really well. So obviously Lahen's there with the Singed. It is quite a funny thing. But it would be very odd if Singed's best role is actually support. But obviously these changes are good for both top and support Singed. Sivir, attack damage growth decreased. E cooldown increased at all ranks. R cooldown increased at all ranks. So this is really big. Attack damage growth is down by 0.3. So she ends up losing, more AD in the later stages of the game. And E spell shield cooldown is 22 to 14 to 24 to 18. So that is actually a lot of CDR stripped away from it in even the later stages of the game. And then R on the hunt, 100 to 70 to 120 to 80, so she can't just like almost cast it almost every single time that it's up. These are very moderate nerfs, I think, all things considered. I don't think that this changes why you're picking Sivir or what is going to prevent you from picking Sivir or anything like that. There was some change that I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but I remember there was some sort of a change where the number was already really high on the big ability, and it was something down in bot lane. It was very similar to this, and people basically crucified the champion and said that it would never be picked again because of the added like 2 or 3 seconds that Riot gave to the ability. I can't think of the champion off the top of my head, but I know that it happened, and I just wonder if people are going to overreact to this the same way that they did that champion once upon a time, but realistically they shouldn't. Taliyah, E cooldown increased at all ranks. Our wall duration decreased. Taliyah's Unraveled Earth is a great tool for stalling teamfights and creating a danger zone to scare off opponents. However, it's currently creating a bit too much time for herself and her allies. We're taking down our ability to cast it quite as frequently. Okay, so the cooldown 16 to 12 to 18 to 14. I mean, it's fine. Weaver's wall duration 5 seconds, 4 seconds. This also, there's a lot of instances where Taliyah casts the wall and then lets the wall down, which is fine. And there's also just a lot of seconds where I think it's very rare that the wall trap actually does something. So this I wouldn't worry too much about, and then likewise this I would not worry too much about. I think that these nerfs are fine. Thresh, Q cooldown decreased at all ranks. Magic damage increased at all ranks. So they're actually finally giving Thresh some buffs. So the cooldown on his Q, okay, he's getting 1 second off his Q, which I think is a joke, because how many times does this 1 second off Q? This actually only happens in extended mid-game fights. That is the only time where this 1 second actually will matter, and yes, you will cast it again in a lot of instances. The magic damage 60 to 240 to 100. Oh, no, sorry, 80 to 100. Okay, sorry. 80 to 240 to 100 to 260. So he's getting 20 extra damage on it, but again, it's very akin to Leona, that the reasons that you're picking Thresh are not there for the damage and everything else. So Thresh has been, getting some attention, and I think that it is really good, especially because he was truly the king of support once upon a time, but obviously he's been outshined by cats. And I think that, that's fine. Cats and unicorns and, pop star singers. I mean, I think that all of those things are just perfectly acceptable to outshine the Shadow Isles, Death Warden. Z, E energy cost decreased. W, living shadow spell mimic range. 2000 to, what? Shadow spell, no limit. Energy intended to give champions spikes of power, then fall off with it. Given the current state of the game, more extended friend champions that use energy to respond. What? No limit on W. That's obviously, it's nice. This actually does allow you to get away with some things that you would not have been able to before. I think that's fine. E shadow slash energy cost is going to go down by 10. This actually matters a lot more in the earlier stages for Zed's laning phase, because unlike Shen, it's not like if you miss it feels bad. Shen is a totally different playstyle. Actually having access to 10 extra energy, this does matter, because if Zed throws like 4 or 5 E's in a laning phase, now suddenly he gets 1 free E, or just has other energy to play around with. So this is actually a really big deal on his E. Is it going to make Zed come back into competitive? No, I wouldn't say so. Not in the current state of things, and so it just feels bad. He's much like some other champions, just a poor byproduct of the current meta environment. Divine Blunderer. Excellent. Now that the dust has settled from Divine Blunderer changes on 12-13, it's still performing quite a bit stronger than we'd like it to. We're opting to decrease the amount of healing the item provides to bring it in more in line with other mythic options. Great, yeah. 65% to 55% of pre-mitigation, plus 4.8 to 2.4 range, maximum health, plus 100% base AD. Cool. Doesn't matter in most cases. This is very akin to the Gwen change, where it just seems like Riot is almost, it really does seem like Riot's out of touch with who would build this item in what situations and what that means for the enemy's ability to resist or how they would itemize, etc. It's very akin to the Gwen thing. It just doesn't feel like it's doing anything. 10% of pre-mitigation damage heal. If a champion is building Divine Sunderer to beat the opponent by sustaining through them, the champion already beats the opponent by sustaining through them, and 10% of pre-mitigation damage going away doesn't do anything. Doesn't change the pattern, doesn't change the sequence. It's just not enough when you consider who's going to build it against who and what that already means for the dynamic of the matchup, which interestingly enough was one of my main arguments about Hullbreaker once upon a time. But you know, that's whatever. Scimitar. Okay. So magic resistance up by 10, Quicksilver active duration up by 0.5. Scimitar hasn't been appealing recently. Neutral is an important itemization. This is fine. I mean, getting extra 10 MR just makes it feel a little bit like it feels less bad to build it, and it's a little bit more of an increase. It's such a luxury, not a luxury item, but like, it's something that you're not rushing. You're always building it last. This is always going to be a 5th or 6th item. So at that point, what is 10 MR really doing for you? Is it really letting you survive an extra rotation or something against the one target, given that you probably only have one magic resistance item? And if you built that one magic resistance item, it just seems weird. It doesn't seem like it does anything. Silvermere Dawn is also getting some buff. Now, this item is better than Scimitar because this item has more champion access than Scimitar does. And so I think that like the 5 magic resistance increase on this is actually more valuable because of the champions that build it. Whereas Scimitar and the champions that build this, it's going to be less valuable to get access to the 10 magic resistance. Bonus stats, the tenacity and the slow resist, obviously that's very nice as well. First strike, bonus true damage 10% to 9%, and then Zaun Clash Cup. I will be honest, there has not been anything on Patreon. I actually flew Joe, the producer, back out. He's been here for about a week because the month of July was just brutal to me. So Joe is back out. He's been out here like a week, and my goal was to just do a lot of stuff with him. And even though he's been here, I still have not really been able to do a whole lot. So, you know, Clash and competitive play and everything like that. Hopefully, I'll be able to do stuff about that soon. Ultimate Spellbook, don't really care. RP price increase, competitive systems. Having a pre-made duo is a slight advantage. And while Apex tier Master, Grandmaster, Challenger players aren't able to duo anymore, this only works off current rank. With this change, we're tightening up the Apex tier restrictions to apply to MMR as well. The goal of the... Wait, what? Isn't this old? The goal of this is to prevent climbing smurfs from being able to duo queue into Apex tier. That said, decayed Apex tier players and the highest skilled player, Diamond 1 players, may also be impacted by this change. Up until now, these players could duo and reliably get into Apex tier games, which isn't fair. What? First roll of the change back out in 12.10 on NA in Korea. Servers as a trial, and the results have been positive. So we're rolling it out to the rest of the world. From now on, players with an MMR correlating to Master and above will no longer... I mean, no, like... This is not good. This is not good. Because one of the main complaints by a lot of high MMR players, pros, content creators, etc., is that they don't like the current state of the ranked ladder, and without the ability to play with like friends and play with teammates and all this other stuff. All right, so let's go into skins and stuff. Okay, so we got Lulu and Zapma, so we got Pokemon trainers. Okay, And I think this is accurately timed because obviously the next Pokemon game is coming out. I don't know. I think it's like Scarlet and Violet. I would personally go with Scarlet. Not because, you know, like I have anything against the color purple. It's just that I went to school with a girl named Violet and she was a bitch. Okay. And Scarlet is one of the most based StarCraft professional players. And also Scarlet from Mortal Kombat was a really cool character. So there you go. That's my compelling argument, and I hope that I've convinced you to buy that Pokemon game. However, I'm not going to try to convince you to buy the skin, at least not the Lulu one, because Lulu can go to hell. Kog'Maw, however, does look adorable. He looks like some sort of a, you know, Electabuzz kid or something like that, and I think that's just cute and lovely. So if you are going to get a skin, definitely get the Kog'Maw skin, but no, leave Lulu alone. You notice how Kog'Maw is behind Lulu. She's pointing that she's going to run ahead. Lulu's a dumb... He is not intelligent. Kog'Maw's going to turn around and leave, and that's fine. He's going to take this little Poro thing with him. All right, so that was it for Kog'Maw. What is this? What is going on here? This seems like you just went on a really bad acid trip and you ended up with like the those things from Star Wars. Are they called the Wookiees or something like that? You ended like you did it really bad. You're on a bad trip and you woke up in a Wookiee village and they are. I don't know where they're going with this, but they're going somewhere. And then obviously you have the in-game stuff. Honestly, her face scares me. It looks like Gwen ate Oriana. I don't really know what's going on with that. And then obviously the Kog'Maw, like I told you, an absolutely adorable first evolution Pokemon here. And you're definitely going to want to get the Kog'Maw because he's very cute and everyone likes Kog'Maw and everything's fine. And then this skin, I mean, this skin actually looks fine. It kind of looks like something out of Majora's Mask or like something that you'd find in one of the, you know, the Zelda games. This skin looks really cool. This kind of looks like a Bumblebee type of skin. This looks like one of the bee skins or something, so I think that one's cool. I think this one's cool as well. This one kind of looks like Garfield. I don't know. This one looks really cool too, you know, and then this looks like a Death Knight. Speaking of Death Knights, I've been playing a lot of WoW TBC Classic, as it is one of the only things that, you know, I'm doing these days because I can't really do anything else. And, you know, so that is something. And obviously, we have like a guild and thing in the Discord server. I'll probably put it in the description below for anyone that wants to play TBC Classic. We're playing on Grobulus and stuff. So Death Knight's coming out, and very excited about that, obviously with pre-patch and everything. But that is it for the League of Legends patch rundown. So, oh man, so what has been going on with me? I am a couple of therapy sessions deep right now. Spent a lot of time and money and other stuff trying to figure out what I could do. There is a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I wish I could talk about. But I think that a lot of stuff that happened between March, April, May, I think when I stopped the MSI streams and everything, I think that like 1 week or like 10-day break or something that I took after MSI, because I was just streaming like almost 200 hours a month for 4 months straight. I think after that, a lot of stuff just started happening, and there's so much behind the scenes that goes on, and there's so many things that just deeply bothered and disturbed me over the last almost year. I want to say almost year. There's just so many things I never would have expected that happened, and so many things. I don't know. It was I talked a lot. I know that Cadril has talked about this on stream. I had multi-hour long combos with, you know, people like Cadril and Doublelift and stuff that reached out and were willing to talk and just like fucking talk about esports and other stuff that goes on. And I've been in the scene a really, really, really long time. This is my 18th year in esports. It is my 8th in League of Legends. A lot has gone on, and I'm going to be making another video with Joe. And again, I made this patch rundown to try to hold myself accountable to making that next video, because I really thought if I didn't get out of bed, if I did not make this video today, I would have pushed back the next one too. I would have said I'll do it next time, and I just never would have came back. And a couple of people from Riot have also reached out, and they've been really great. Been having a lot of talks with them. A lot of people from various pro teams have reached out, and I've had a lot of talks with them. And I am trying very hard. I think people that have watched me for a long time know that I've always said that actions always speak louder than words, and that if you want to measure someone's honesty, you measure their actions over a prolonged period of time. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know. But yeah, hopefully that video comes out later on in this week. I don't know if I'll get back to co-streams right away, or live views or anything like that. I'm trying. I had a therapy session yesterday, and I was gonna stream, but still didn't. And yeah, and then I think this week has LCS co-streams. Face Check is going to be coming back as well. A lot of people think that's canceled. It's not. Yeah. Just a lot of stuff going on. And I think I'll make like a brief overcap video that, again, it'll be out on the main channel in a few days or something. And I'll just talk about like stuff that's gone on, where I've been, what I've been doing. You know, other stuff I'm trying. Finally got back on anti-anxiety meds, and you know, other stuff as well to try to like help mitigate things. And that's what's going on. So hopefully I have more updates soon. I'm trying to be positive, and really grateful for all the people that still DM me on Twitter, Instagram, whatever. I do read all of your messages. I just don't reply. I don't do anything. I read all the comments, people that leave comments on like old videos asking where I've been. I'll talk about a lot of this and more in the next video, but that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back and try to deal with my my stress and everything else right now. So the way I've been doing that is I've just been passing the time on WoW with IRL friends. It's the only place that a lot of us can just hang out together, because we're all separated and stuff, and it's one of the only places I just feel like comfortable, because I'm not me there, and that's fun and stuff. But yeah, I'll probably leave a link in the description below and stuff. People want to just hang out, join that, whatever. It's fun, nice way to pass the time, de-stress and stuff. So hopefully next video in a few days, and I will see you guys all then. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed the rundown. Honestly, I mean, not too much. I was expecting more for this patch, all right, on 12:15. I really was, but yeah. All right, see you guys later. Bye bye.